Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I want to thank you for joining us. My name is AJ Kuftik. I'm Principal Technologist with Expedient. Today, I want to talk about how to get over analysis paralysis. Real quick, though, if you have any questions, please enter them right down below here in the Q&A panel. That helps us keep track of the questions and make sure that they get answered. We'll answer the questions after the session. We have our Vice President of Pre-Sales Engineering, Rob McCafferty, on with us today. So hello, Rob. We'll be answering questions in that post-session Q&A, and also Rob will be answering some of them live inside of the Q&A panel itself. If you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. That prize this week is a pair of Powerbeats Pro Lava Red headphones. So they're Bluetooth headphones, go over your ear. They're pretty great. Also, if you need to step away or you want to show this to someone else, all of this is being recorded. You'll get a link to the recording in an email. It'll also be available on our website, go.expedient.com/webinar replays, also on our YouTube page, youtube.com/expedient, and our Instagram page, instagram.com/_expedient. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started as a co-location company, moved into managed services, and are now in cloud. We have cloud locations in US East, Central, and West. Happy birthday to our West region out in Phoenix, Arizona. We also have international cloud deployments on customer sites in Australia, Germany, and Canada. So if our cloud locations don't work, we can bring that cloud to you, and that applies domestically as well. We're a VMware cloud provider and have been since 2007. We have thousands of virtual machines on our platform. So we've been running solutions at scale for over a decade now. But I have a question for the entire audience here. How do you decide to go to the cloud, right? Everybody wants to go, but how do you actually decide to go do that? And this is usually started and driven by some sort of change, something that's happened and something needs to be done about it. In some instances, this is a specific incident, right? This is where a piece of software has failed, or some part of the infrastructure has failed, or something needs to be done that needs to be moved away from, and the business doesn't want to support that anymore. Sometimes that's a piece of software where there's a SaaS version now, and you could move over to the cloud version of that. You can move over to the cloud version of that piece of software, or you could have maybe a piece of storage that's getting older that you want to move away from. The other option is the long-term buildup. This is what I like to call the garage light bulb problem. I have 4 light bulbs in my garage, and each one of them just in order went out. And it wasn't until after that last light bulb went out that I actually had a problem. I knew they were going out. I knew that I needed to replace them, but I just never really took the time to do it. We see a lot of this happen in terms of building technical debt. These are things like mainframes. Mainframes are great, but being able to support them going forward is getting harder and harder. It's getting harder to find staff to support them, especially as we start to move towards more distributed applications. Also, this is the Exchange problem. Exchange for many years now has been kind of on the chopping block as a platform. And Microsoft has slowly said, like, hey, you guys should move to Office 365. You should move to Office 365. And so they end up doing so, but only once Exchange has finally been cut off, right? So being able to eliminate that technical debt is a big deal. This also can come from maybe a new direction, right? You get a new CIO, new leadership in the organization, or your organization gets acquired by maybe a bigger company that's already gone through a cloud transition, and that organization wants you to go through that, or the new leadership wants to drive forward on that, right? So there's a number of reasons that this change can happen. What does this change mean? What does it all mean? It's a double rainbow all the way across the sky. The first is new applications. The ability to build new and modern applications to scale and meet the needs of your business. This also allows you to get more agile and more scalable. These are things that the business really would like to do, but maybe are sometimes hampered by the capabilities of your on-premises technologies. This also can potentially mean new financial models, especially as you move into, right now that we're in all these lovely COVID times, going to the wallet from the business is hard right now. The business doesn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars for new hardware to just hand out because a lot of businesses are struggling, right? So being able to move to an OpEx model can be a big transition that can be a big benefit to a financial model, because you don't have to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every 3 or 4 years to maintain your infrastructure. You're gradually spending that money over time and being able to keep up with new technologies. But this also means that you have to get better at forecasting. And a lot of organizations aren't, because they've never had to, right? You buy the hardware, you run it for 3 or 4 years. If you need some more, you get some more in the middle there. But being able to forecast your usage can be kind of hard. And finally, these are skill set changes that come as part of this. If you're a storage person, you've been dealing with storage arrays for the last 10 to 15 years, not a ton of storage arrays in the cloud. But this is an opportunity not as a career killer, but as a career extender. This is where you pivot and bring some of your existing storage skill set and knowing how to make sure that data is maintained and the integrity is maintained, and take that over to maybe the infrastructure or application side to be able to bring your skills forward and extend your career, because storage arrays are kind of a dying breed, right? But as you move forward into cloud, you're able to take on those new capabilities. So how do you get started? How do you actually move down this path? How do you make this work? The first is what a lot of people end up doing. They go out to a hyperscaler, they take the credit card out there and they swipe it, and they try to figure out themselves. And the problem is that once you put the billing stuff in there, you look around and you say, well, there's a lot of services here. I'm just going to go deploy a compute instance. I need a VPC. Okay, well, what's a VPC? Oh, that's this. Okay. Oh, this VM got deployed. Cool. Oh, there's a public DNS address. Oh, wait, this is available on the internet. Okay, how do I secure that? Okay, I guess I got to put in a firewall. And you start to stumble through building all these things, and you start to lay a crooked foundation. It's not necessarily the right way to do it out of the gate, just because you're kind of figuring it out as you go. The other option is consultants. And these are a way to go about doing that. But the problem is that from a consultancy standpoint, that's not necessarily a guarantee that it's going to work, right? A consultant's going to come in and they're going to look at your applications to try and figure out a way to bring that to a cloud in a way that they've done before. They may have helped a customer just like you, but they also may be seeing your application for the first time and you're the only one using it, or it's an in-house application and they have to figure out how it would fit into a hyperscale cloud in the best way possible, right? So there's not necessarily a guarantee there, but it's certainly a helpful way to go do it. Finally, there's research. You go out, read a bunch of stuff, and try to figure out how you're going to go do this, right? And this is really where a lot of people start, but this is where the fear paralyzation starts to come in, right? You hit information overload. Well, this person said that they did it and they were successful, but they never really talked about exactly how they did it. They just said that we moved and it was great. And you start to read blogs and reading articles, and you got white papers, you got analysts, you've got colleagues in the field who maybe have experience from 2 years ago, and that might not be how it works now. Or the vendor saying that everything's great, and as soon as you move it here, unicorns will go frolicking through your front yard. But that's not how that works either. How do you actually build an information set that makes sense to you? And the problem is that there's a ton of it. There's a ton of actually good information out there. There are people who are sharing their real life experiences. And how do you separate things that could happen to you from things that would happen to you? And so you start to build this fear of like, I don't know exactly what to do, and I'm afraid of being wrong, right? No one ever likes being wrong, but being wrong this is where the fear starts to set in. Am I making the right choice? Is going to AWS the right choice? Is going to Azure the right choice? Is going to Expedient the right choice? How do I make sure that I'm doing this correctly? Because you start to fear your job security, right? How do I start to feel confident in any sort of decision that I'm making here? And the most easy decision that for most people is that you have to fight the inertia, right? It's very, very easy to stay in place. it's easy, and I'm going to use the air quotes there, it's easier to stay in place because you're not doing anything. You're not putting forward any different effort to change where you're going. You're putting forth no effort to stay exactly where you are. Because this is the devil that you know. You know all the nooks and crannies of your application. You know all the nooks and crannies of your infrastructure. You know what will happen when changes are made. And you don't know when you go to a hyperscale cloud. And that's where the fear starts to set in. You're like, you know what, we'll just stay here. We're going to maintain the status quo. And when you maintain that status quo, you end up kneecapping both yourself, but also the business in what they want to do. And so to actually move away from this inertia, remember, it's not just you. There's other people in your organization. There's you, there's your coworkers, there's your upper management, and there's leadership. Everybody is in it together. So how do you build that consensus? The best way to do that is to actually understand the big picture. Understand what this migration, what this change, what this transition or transformation would actually do for you. Understand what this would do for your organization. Understand what this would do for the business, right? IT organization versus the business, right? This could be really cool from a technology standpoint, but if the business doesn't see any value in it, they're not going to be on board with it. So how do you build that consensus? And this is where you start to see some of the fears from outside come in. And it's up to you to assuage those fears and say, look, there's going to be some challenges. We're probably going to hit some bumps in the road, no doubt. No transition is ever easy. No transition ever goes as smoothly as everyone would like it to. I would love to just snap my fingers and boom, we're in the cloud and everything's great. But this is just like when you move from one house to another. You have to think about what the next house is going to feel like. You're going to have to think about what it's going to be like to live in this new location. And when you're moving that mattress out of your second floor, you have to remember that this is all worth it, right? You assuage those fears and you make your way forward. And getting buy-in from the top to the bottom is important. And this is why we have to have buy-in from the doers. These are the people who have to make it all work. And you get buy-in from the thinkers. These are the leadership, the CIO, the director level, the architect level too, to say this is a decision that we're all in together and that we all support together. So how do you actually start to make that inroad? I know that, by the way, on all these webinars, there's always the question, how do I sell this up the chain? How do I get my CIO, my director, my business on board? So I'm gonna answer that right now. Ready? You get yourself some quick wins. These are the small but powerful ways that you can actually start to make the difference. You move a small workload, you move dev or test, QA, maybe even low tier production to show the actual value. You don't move everything. It's not a big bang. I'm going to take my 200, 500, 1,000 VMs, whatever, and drop them in immediately. I'm going to move maybe 5. I'm going to move 10. I'm going to move a small amount of my workload to understand the new world, to understand the new operations, to understand what we need to do to be able to support this going forward. These are things that would be limited in terms of their impact to the business, but important enough that people actually get on board with it, right? It's not just going out there and I deployed a Windows VM to Amazon. This is going out there and moving your dev workloads into Expedient or Azure or AWS or Google to make sure that you actually are seeing the things that you expect. This is showing the proof and showing that this value is real and that these capabilities are there. Because once you do that, you can start to build upon those wins. You can take the small win that you got and then say, okay, we moved our dev stuff. Let's move QA. And now QA is up there. Oh, hey, now we move QA. We know dev and QA work, so let's move production. Now that we know that our low tier production's on there, let's move our tier 1. Now that tier 1's out there, we can definitely move our mission critical apps. You can take all of that and bring it all the way forward, and it can be a gradual rollout. So those are quick wins. But if you want the quickest wins, you go to Expedient. So our Expedient Enterprise Cloud is the same technology stack that you're running on premises today. So you can get the quickest win possible. You take your VM and you land it in our data center. We have multiple ways, multiple migration capabilities, and a delivery team that will help you every step of the way. And by bringing those workloads over, you know exactly how they're going to run because they're running the exact same way that we're running on premises. And there's no refactoring. You don't have to say, okay, well, this application would be great in the cloud, but we would have to rewrite it. We would have to refactor it to make it be as good as it can be. Not the case here. You bring your VMs over, they run exactly as they are today. If you've got an application that's a year or two old, and I bet you do, they're going to run fantastically in the Expedient Enterprise Cloud. Additionally, there's no egress fees. So one of the biggest challenges in dealing with a hyperscale cloud is that when you move your applications out there, you're not sure what the actual data movements are. You're not sure what the data flows are, especially when it's going between a hyperscale cloud and on-prem. With Expedient Enterprise Cloud, you don't have to worry about that. It is all bandwidth driven. And once you get those wins, we can help you keep those wins going. This is where our cloud data protection, which is powered by Cohesity and gives us the best backup in the business. We're able to back up petabytes of data, but you only pay for the data that you're using. You're able to pay per terabyte. That's post dedupe. So you're getting the savings for not just you, but also everybody else. And that's hard to do on-prem. You have to build all of that additional storage to make sure that you have growth room. We've taken care of all of that for you, so you get to focus on what you're actually using. Our disaster recovery as a service, that's our push button DR solution. It's some of the fastest disaster recovery available on the market. We're able to fail over from data center to data center with no external IP changes, no DNS changes. So you're able to get the DR of your dreams without having to go build it all yourself. And finally, as you start to modernize those applications, our cloud native infrastructure is available. You can build your containers with persistent storage, that's Rancher and Portworx, and put together all of the logging with Elastic so you can build those modern scale-out applications. And then when you're ready to jump to a hyperscaler for a platform that you really want to use, our cloud on-ramp networking allows you to get there faster than you can on-prem. We have 100 gig networking and low latency connections to all of the hyperscale clouds. So we can take care of your yesterday, today, and tomorrow all together. So please join us next week, or not next week. Next week is Thanksgiving. So I hope you all have a very wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. Sweet potato pie is delicious. 2 weeks from now is December 3rd. We're going to talk about how to make sense of the cloud. We're going to talk about all of the various cloud types that are available and how to actually make sense and find the right cloud for your workloads. And if you want to get the quick win, reach out to me, aj.kuftick@expedient.com, or go to expedient.com/VMware-test-drive. And you can sign up for a free 30-day trial that includes 120 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of storage, and full portal, that's GUI and API, access to our environment. So you can start to build your future platform and get those quick wins so you can help your cloud journey along the way. And with that, I will bring in our Vice President of Pre-Sales Engineering, Rob McCafferty, to help answer some questions here. Hi, Rob.
Hey, AJ, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Awesome presentation. We'll kind of jump right into some questions here. The first one that kind of popped up, and I think you addressed this a little bit, and maybe we'll expand upon it here in the Q&A. How, when, the executive level at your company is afraid, whether it's for change or migration to the cloud, how do you help them through that decision-making process? And you talked a little bit about starting small and getting some quick wins. I think I'd additionally add to that, provide them data and education, provide them information on pricing, provide them information on security, show them that you've evaluated multiple types of clouds, whether that's public cloud, private cloud, enterprise cloud, and that you understand the decision that you're making, right? Build that confidence. Don't just walk in and say, I read an article in a magazine and we're going to move everything to AWS tomorrow. That's a recipe for disaster. So do your homework, engage folks like Expedient, right? We have some assessment services that can be funded that can help you gather that data and understand the decision. So, a lot of ways to help ease that pain. Another question around how does a cloud architecture increase the complexities of cybersecurity? I think you talked about this one a little bit as well, but anytime you're putting data in different places, especially places that are multi-tenant environments, your exposure and your risk for cybersecurity increases. The approach that we've taken is to deliver a service from a security perspective that is multi-cloud capable, so that we can provide a layer of security at the VM or at the application level that is consistent across clouds. So whether that cloud runs in Expedient Enterprise Cloud or a public cloud or on your private on-premise cloud, you have the same visibility and security architecture and solutions across those clouds.
I have one here. Does Expedient help with cloud migration of legacy apps, even mainframe? And does Expedient have the in-house skills for legacy app migration? So our platform is built for those legacy applications, right? If you're on VMware today, you can move to VMware on our platform. We also offer co-location services. So if you have maybe physical hardware, even things like mainframe, you can migrate those into our data center and have direct connectivity from those right into our enterprise cloud for those VMs. So we offer our services, our delivery services are part of the overall onboarding process. So migrating your VMs, it's not here's some tools and go. I like to refer to hyperscale clouds as the mansion, but a pile of lumber, right? There's an idea there, you can build it, but you have to go build it yourself, right? You got to cut all the wood and put it all together. With us, we're bringing you a fully built house and we're going to help you move into it. So yes, we can help you move those legacy apps.
So I'm going to kind of combine two questions together here. How do you choose a cloud vendor, and how do you know when to lift and shift versus re-architect? I think pretty similar to the previous answer I gave, right? Understand the decision that you're making, right? Engage with someone to kind of do a cloud assessment so that you can understand where the right place for each application is. We're big believers in multi-cloud architecture. So, if you have an AI ML workload, there's probably a cloud that's better at that than some others. If you have to run a database workload and need high performance, there's probably a cloud that's better than that at others. And kind of what we like to offer in addition to our enterprise cloud is kind of the glue that can hold all of those things together. So I mentioned that multi-cloud aware security service, also offering things like networking connectivity between clouds and other managed services between clouds, so that your experience is consistent, but your workloads and your applications can run where it makes most sense, not only from a technical perspective, but from a financial perspective as well.
See here, my IT manager is happy that we're still working with physical servers and is always open to my suggestions on getting into cloud services, but remains very pessimistic and hard to persuade on transitioning to the cloud. Can you offer any selling points to help him to get him to commit to making the change? Really sorry to hear that. I'll say that from a selling point, there's a lot of effort that goes into maintaining physical servers, right? And there's the availability challenges of a physical server. Ask him if you can go power off any one of them right now. That's one of the biggest challenges. So if you want to bring those physical servers, you can put them right into our data center and get at least out of the data center business, managing cooling, power, external networking, those sorts of things. You can get out of that business. But as you start to move from a physical to a virtual to a cloud world, moving that over gives you a ton of extra capabilities that building a bunch of physical servers in an on-premises environment just truly cannot. I've seen big organizations that can throw people at problems try to do it. It's possible, but not the best way to go forward with doing that.
So one other question here I thought was interesting. a question around how do we handle, or how should you address applications that have unique licensing agreements, right? The question specifies one, but there are many. So from a Expedient perspective, that's why we kind of offer private cloud, multi-tenant cloud, as well as public cloud, so that we have a lot of flexibility in how we can design and architect solutions to meet those licensing needs. So for example, if you have an application that is core-based or socket-based licensing, we have a variety of different host sizes that we can use in your cloud environment to meet those needs. Right? Some of the public clouds have pretty limited host availability. We have dozens of different configurations that we can use to meet different application licensing needs.
I saw a question here about what type of environments are offered, single versus multi. Both, actually. We have our Expedient Enterprise Cloud, which is our multi-tenant platform. But we can also offer dedicated EEC nodes, so you can have your own little baby cloud. We have a number of customers doing that. We also have customers that are using our dedicated platform called PV Colo, which is our ability to give you a fully baked VMware vCenter access level environment, so you can build things like VDI or bring your own backup solutions, those sorts of things. We have a number of customers who use that because they want the specific capabilities of that platform versus something like a multi-tenant cloud environment, right? We are flexible to our customer base, and this is why we offer a number of these capabilities.
Question here about kind of data privacy laws and how do we deal with that. We have multiple locations for our cloud platforms, not only in the US, but globally as well as all of the different certifications, audits, and things necessary to make sure that data is secure and that it's residing in a specific geography if that's required.
All right, we'll go with this question here. We're using VMware on 3 2016 servers. Would I have to move all 3 VMs to our cloud? And what about local DNS, DHCP, and domain controllers? So this is where our solution architecture team comes in. You can absolutely move all of them. You can also keep some things local and use us in more of like a hybrid model, right? We have customers who have things in our cloud, but they want to maintain things locally. In fact, there was a webinar that we just did on Tuesday. Go.expedient.com/webinar replays. You can hear what Kapler is doing. They have a number of things that are in our EEC. That's a lot of their production critical things, but they have things like print servers that are still on premises for latency and connectivity reasons. So there's a number of these capabilities that you can build that don't have to just be everything lives in the cloud. You can still maintain things locally because there's latency and connectivity and even DR reasons for that. So things like domain controllers, DNS, DHCP, that can absolutely still live on premises because you're dealing with authentication. We also offer our cloud backup solutions powered by Cohesity. It's in our data center. We can also land our nodes in your data center or in a foreign data center. In fact, the Australia, Germany, and Canada all have that capability right now. So if you're using a cloud backup solution, you can still use that. We also offer our own that stays local, has Google-like restore processes, and you pay per terabyte used. So there's a number of those. I see here in the chat, I'm just taking a peek over there real quick. We have, can Expedient migrate from on-prem to cloud, but also from one cloud to ours? Yes, we have offered these. We've helped customers migrate out of AWS, and I believe, Rob, have we moved people out of Azure too? I believe we've moved people out of Azure.
We have, yep.
So we've been able to move these sorts of things. We've been able to move people from on-prem to our cloud, so we've been able to do that. One quick announcement before we go. The winner of the headphones is Dana Ritter. Congratulations to Dana. Karen will be reaching out to you soon. If there's any more questions, we'll take them now. Otherwise, we hope that you guys have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you for joining us again. Again, you can reach out to me, aj.kuftick@expedient.com, or go to expedient.com/VMware-test-drive so you can get started on those quick wins. So thanks everybody for joining. We'll see you in December.